This is Dr. Liz, Senior Pastor at Antioch International Church, and I would like to personally welcome you to Network for Encouragement. We are so glad that you have joined us today, and we hope that you are inspired and encouraged during our time together. And now, here is our host, Mr. Cyril Prabhu, the founder of Proverbs 226.
Good morning, ladies. At Anson, we are so happy to come back to you with another series that we're going to start today. It's called The Testimony of Power, and we have Dr. Liz is going to walk us through one of the books called Are You Dancing in the Rain? We are excited about what God's going to do, and we're also excited about all the children that are now being part of Proverbs 2-6 from Anson. Later in this episode, we will come back and talk to you about what's going on with the kids to career and kids that are getting into college this year. We have amazing news about the kids that are going to college as well. But before we go into any of those things, I'm going to invite Dr. Liz to come and just share with us what God has been speaking to her from this book. Dr. Liz.
Thank you so much. It is such an honor and a privilege to get to share with you today. It's so great. I've been reading this book called Are You Dancing in the Rain by Cyril Prabhu. And there are so many amazing testimonies in this book. Revelations chapter 12, verse 11 says, "They triumphed over the enemy by the blood of the Lamb," that's by Jesus, and everything he accomplished, "by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony." Our testimonies are so important. Our testimonies are our story, our experiences. They're our truth, and no one can take those away from us. It's like if you pray for something and then you experience that God answered that prayer, no one can tell you that it didn't happen. No one can tell you that God doesn't exist. You know that you asked the Lord for it and he answered and he gave it to you and you know it, and that's your testimony, and there's power in that. The other thing that's so important about our testimonies is that they encourage and they strengthen others. They build people's faith. When I hear someone's testimony, like how if someone was so sick and then they prayed and they called some people to come and pray with them and they woke up the next morning and they were completely healed. That builds my faith and it strengthens me and my faith. So it's when we have a testimony, it builds our faith, but also when we hear other people's testimonies, it builds faith and it strengthens us. And so our testimonies are so important. And this book, Are You Dancing in the Rain, is full of amazing stories and testimonies. We have this amazing opportunity to be encouraged, to be strengthened, and even learn. There's some major nuggets in this book that we can learn from Mr. Cyril's journey and the testimonies that he shared on how he learned to not only survive in hard times, but to dance in the midst of the rain. I love how he begins the chapter 1. The title of chapter 1 is called A Symbol of Determination and Hope. Many of you are determined to change things for your children, and you have hope for the future for your children and your grandchildren. And this chapter is called A Symbol of Determination and Hope. And I love how he begins it. He begins it with a dedication, and it says this: "This chapter is dedicated to all the single moms who make valiant efforts to raise children in the midst of challenges." We have lots of challenges in life, and some more than others. But when we continue, no matter what, to keep pressing on and working hard and praying and all of these things, there is something so powerful in that for others to see that testimony, but even for our children and for our grandchildren. So it's a great way how he just introduces this, dedicating it to the single moms, to the moms out there. If you look at Cyril's life today, you might never guess the humble and potentially hopeless origins of what he started with and how he has become now the successful businessman. In this first chapter, Cyril talks about his mom and the testimonies of his mom's situation. Cyril shares with us that his mother grew up in a primitive village in India where there is still no electricity, no indoor plumbing, no water treatment system, and no reasonable transportation. He goes on to tell us that when he was 6 months old, his father abandoned them, so leaving his mom as a single mom in this poor, primitive village with nothing. The story could have easily ended up very differently because it could seem like an impossible situation. It was an impossible situation, a possibly hopeless situation. But just like it says in Matthew chapter 19, verse 26, with God, all things are possible. The lesson that Cyril learned from his mom was how to dance in the rain by serving others. You know, there's a lot of times when I have met other people and they're in really difficult situations or they're grieving, but there's something so powerful when they are able to help and serve others even in their hard situation that empowers them and strengthens them to get through their hard situation. I was so blessed by so many of you ladies that when you heard about a family who lost a father that was incarcerated, you came together and you made gifts for the family to bless them, and you gathered what you could to give to those families and bless them. In that, as you serve and as you bless, it also strengthens and encourages and empowers you as you serve. And Cyril's mom is a great testimony of that. In her lack, she just served others and took care of others and loved on others because she knew that what you sow, you reap. So if you sow blessing, if you sow kindness, then in your life you will reap that. And that was her prayer, that her son would reap the blessings as she sowed kindness, as she served. Her prayer was that her son would reap the blessings. She believed that God would bless Cyril, bless her son, because of everything that she poured into others. On page 19, I want to share a little bit. On page 19, it says, we've all faced unexpected and undeserved circumstances over which we've had absolutely no control. It's so true. We've all gone through difficult things that we had no control over. At times, they seem to have marched toward us like an army of armored tanks as we stood by watching completely unarmed. Do you ever feel like when it rains, it pours? If there's just one thing after another, after another, after another, and you feel like there's nothing you can do about it. Several times, my mother overcame situations like that. Extreme hardships sometimes pushed her into the point of trying to commit suicide, but she found solace in her faith in God, who restored her peace and calmness so she could continue fighting. There are times when we can start to feel like we are just drowning under the constant barrage of one thing after another, and we feel like, what is the point? But through this testimony of Cyril's mom, she reached out to the Lord. She found her strength in the Lord. She found her peace in the Lord, and even hope for the future through her son, and knowing that one day she would have grandchildren, and that hope and faith in the Lord to keep her going. We need to learn and be encouraged by women like Cyril's mom to not give up, but to keep trusting in the Lord and hoping in the future. Philippians 4:13, and this is such a popular verse, but I love it. It says, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. We can do all things when we are in him and with him because he's the one that gives us strength to endure and to get through it. So Mama Prabhu teaches us some lessons of how to keep dancing in this dance of life, even when storm after storm, and then it starts raining even harder, comes. The first thing was, even in our lack, to serve others, to bless others. The second, no matter how tough things can get, to keep our faith in God and trust in God. She goes on to then bring in how important it is that we walk in humility, that we keep our hearts humble, but we walk in a place of dignity. There's some people that think that, well, I'd have to have this facade of dignity, but it's not real dignity, it's just pride. But when we walk in humility before God, because we know it's only through him that we can do what we're doing, it's only because of him that we can keep moving forward. So we walk in that humility, but in dignity. What Cyril's mom said was, don't let the world laugh at you. And it reminds me of a quote by Eleanor Roosevelt, who said, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. People can mock you and make fun of you all they want, but it's only if you decide that they are right, or you decide that you give them the power to make you feel small or insignificant or worthless. But when we know, I'm going to put my hope in God, I'm going to put my trust in God, because it's him who gives me strength every day, then we don't have to worry about feeling less because of our circumstances, but we know who we are. As the children of God, it's so important that we remember this. This is so valuable. It's pure gold. That one, we keep our hearts humble. We recognize we can do nothing without God, no matter what. But the second is that our identity is in him. It doesn't matter what other people say, or who they say I am, or who they say you are. What matters is who Father God says that we are. The name that he gives us, the identity that he has placed on us. That's what matters. And Cyril's mom shone with that. That's her life's testimony of who she is as a daughter of the Most High King. Sometimes it's difficult to really hold on to this because life throws us some curveballs and we make mistakes. Sometimes we even strike out. But with God, all things are possible. So we get another chance at bat. He already knows who he created us to be. He created us for greatness. He created us to be the head and not the tail. He created you to be above and not beneath. He created you for greatness. So regardless of the situation that we find ourselves in, we need to be determined to keep dancing with the name tag. My name tag would say, Liz, daughter of the Most High King of the universe. What does your name tag say? Cyril's mom didn't have anything of earthly value, but she had her faith and love, and what she had, she gave others. I love what Cyril says on page 23. He says, even though my mother had to overcome many personal trials, her faith in God was unshakable. No matter what, my faith in God is unshakable. We need to be so determined about that, just like Cyril's mom. She would never compromise about going to church or placing her problems in the hand of God. God already knows everything we're going through, but he loves to hear from us. And so when we pray to him every day and we just place all of our concerns, all of our problems at his feet, we say, Lord, I just give this to you and I trust you with it. That whole burden then comes off of us. And we don't have to be weighed down with it, but then we can be strengthened and full of life. Man, if we could remember to make this our utmost priority, it's like eating, sleeping, breathing. If we don't make communing with God, talking with God, and connecting with him our priority, how can we expect to get anywhere? Remember, it's with God that all things are possible, not just acknowledge God and go off and try and do your own thing. It's with him along the journey. Invite the Lord into every day. Commit yourself to him every day. When I wake up in the morning, that's the first thing I do before I just thank God for the day. I thank him for giving me breath today. And I commit myself to him. I commit my actions for the day to him. I give him permission to take over my day. And I would encourage you to do the same thing, because his plans for your day are way better than your plans for the day. If you're able today, I want to encourage you to talk with some of those around you and hear each other's stories and testimonies of maybe the moms in your life. Maybe your mom was like this, who encouraged you and was a woman of faith. Maybe it was your grandmother. Maybe it was an auntie or just someone in your community that was like a mom to you, investing in you. We learned through Cyril's mom's story, number one, how she selflessly served and blessed when they didn't have much. Was there someone in your life who selflessly served even though she didn't have much? Number two, she held on to her faith no matter what. Is there someone in your life who you can remember has held on to their faith no matter what they went through? Number three, who have remained humble but walk in dignity because they know who they are? I have grandmas like this who just, no matter what, it doesn't matter if they don't have 2 pennies to rub together, they walk humbly but in dignity because they know that they are God's. Number four, someone who gives from what they have, whether they give their faith, they give their hope, they give their love. And number five, no matter what, don't lose faith. God is faithful and loves you so much. We live in a broken world, and we often don't understand why. But God is so faithful to those who love him and call on his name. I want to encourage you to talk with one another about people who you think of who have these ways of dancing in the rain, these ways of dancing in life. And if you have time, write a letter to that person in your life who has been a testimony of one of these things, of serving, of faith, of dignity. God has so much for you, and he desires to draw you closer to himself. So as you think about the people in your life who walked closely with the Lord, who were an encouragement to you, I want to encourage you to take some time today and this week to speak to the Lord, to talk with him, to commune with him, to rededicate your life to him, to get closer to him, because he loves you and he wants you to know him and to love him. Have an amazing day, and God bless you. Cyril?
Thank you, Dr. Liz. That was amazing. You did an awesome job, just like going through for those, content that you talked about. This is just, very close to my heart. This whole book is. And when I wrote this book, my thought process is like, every one of us have a problem. There is nobody that is a problem-free person. And that when we go through trouble, it is always like not just one problem that hits us. It's like 4 or 5 or even 10 problems hits us at the same time. And after a while, you just like get so broken in your heart, and you're just like looking for like a God, really, I just need help. And if you are going through one such situation, what I'm hoping for in this book is that this will give you an energy, a source to know that this kind of situation is something that we can actually come over. There are some people who have gone through this path and just like gotten over. So for example, if someone has gone through a cancer, if someone has gone through a financial difficulty, if someone has gone through some really, hard thing that they think that this is all like done and that they are not able to get out of it. And I'm hoping that this book will be to know that there is still hope. We can still come out of this situation. And the one situation that I really, wanted to share with you is that later in my life, I asked my mom because there were so many things that happened around her life. I never had a chance even to live with her until I was 23 because she would always leave me in someone else's house. And she would go work in different people's house, but she would never take money for the work that she did in those houses. And if someone needed help with, taking care of the baby, or someone needed to clean up their house, or someone is delivering a baby, she would go do a lot of these things. And then later, if they offered to give her some help, she would refuse to take help because she knows that somehow that favor will find her son, right? She never took money for all of the work or, anything that she did. But here's the point that I'm trying to make, right? Even in that difficult situation that she went through, she never gave up. Like what Dr. Liz talked about from that book, she was always holding on to the Lord so strong that she never wavered in her faith. And that's why, my hope and prayer is that as you read through this book, that you will find a new source of energy and strength in this book. And also, we will send you the book to Miss Bennett and Mr. O'Neill, so you will get a copy of this book. When you get a chance to read it, you can see the full length of everything that we went through as me and my mom, and that you will find a strength, a source of energy through that material as well. But in the meantime, we're so blessed to come to you with this second, sessions that we're going to come through for the next 8 to 10 weeks, going through each and every person that I came across in my life who did not know how to dance when the life threw a challenge at them. But somehow they figured out in their difficulty how to dance. And not only they learned how to dance, but they taught me how to dance after they went through their difficult situation. So it's not about my life story, it's about the people that I came across in my life and how they danced. And I'm hoping that this is helpful for you. Until we come back the next time, have an amazing, amazing day. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us here at Network for Encouragement. We want to remind you that Psalm 118, verse 14 says, "The Lord is my strength and my defense. He has become my salvation." Be encouraged to place your trust in the Lord. He is with you, He is for you, and He loves you.